So I'm Phil Johnson, I'm an engineering manager, and I've talked a little bit about in previous videos a book that I've found really useful in my career. Read it sort of 20 years ago, revisited it a few times, and just sharing my kind of feedback and some of my takeaways from it. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So the thing I was going to talk about today was the first habit, so habit 1, which is be proactive. So what does Covey mean when he talks about being proactive? So he talks about proactivity, not just about not being lazy and doing things and actually being busy, but he talks about proactivity as being he talks about that as just being active. So if you're doing things and you're busy, you're active. Proactivity is about doing things and being busy for the right reasons, for doing things based on principles, based on your values, and making your decisions on what you do based around that. So what Covey leads with, and I think this is kind of the key thing about being proactive, is personal responsibility. So Covey talks about we're all personally responsible for the actions that we take. He talks about a stimulus and a response, and the time in between the stimulus and the response to think about things and to do the right things for the right reasons. So a stimulus might be something like we feel like a challenge or a limitation is holding us back. So in terms of we might want to get promoted at work, we might want to do a course, we might want to pass an exam that we think it will help us get on. We might just want to bring in a new practice on the team that we think is a good practice that would help the team to be more productive. So there are stimuluses like, when we're trying to do these things, there are some stimuluses like, your manager might say, no, you're not getting promoted, or, they might just not even notice that you want to get promoted. You might feel like there's not enough time to do that course, to do that exam, or you might feel there are other team members who don't necessarily agree with the practice that you want to bring in. So those are all stimuluses, and what Covey's saying is we've got time and energy as well to think about how we're going to respond to those things, in terms of everything, our actions, our kind of how we regulate our emotions as well, in terms of calmness or frustration and defensiveness and things like that. So whenever these things happen, we kind of hear ourselves in our head talking about it, or we might be talking to other people, and we talk in either closed or open language, or reactive or proactive language. So closed language or reactive language is this thing of, my manager is holding me back, I'm not getting promoted, or it might be that too many people at work give me too many things, I don't have time to do this course that I want to do, or work won't fund this course that I want to do, or don't have time to do this exam, or team members not, I can't bring in this practice because of another team member and how they respond whenever I talk about this thing with the team. So that's closed or reactive language. And what Covey's saying is whenever we catch ourselves doing that, we're personally responsible for actually changing that mindset, changing our own mindset on that, and using open or proactive language with ourselves and with others. So what he's saying is, if we hear ourselves in our head saying something like, my manager, I'm not getting promoted at work because of my manager. That's not going to help us in a couple of years' time where we're still in the same position, we'll still have the same frustrations, chances are we might still have the same manager. So although we feel frustrated, we should really look for what we can do, how we can respond to that in a positive way, to take actions that we can actually take to get that promotion, or to bring in that practice with the team that you think will build productivity, and find time to do the course. How will you find time to do the course, or how will you find the cost or the time to do the exam that you want to do? So all of these things are kind of proactive or open languages. It's what can I do to drive this forward, to move this thing forward, rather than thinking about and worrying about the things that are limitations and challenges. And we've probably all seen this, well, a lot of us will have seen the classic kind of circle of influence and circle of concern diagram that Covey brought in the 7 Habits, but it's often shown in corporate training programs or leadership or management courses or literature. And the theory is that we all have this circle of concern, which is a big circle, and that's everything that we're concerned about. Things that are imposed on us, things that are challenges, things that we want to do, and that's our circle of concern. And then there's a subset of those things that come under our circle of influence. So that's the things that we can actually take, do something about. We can take actions to make them happen. And not everything is entirely in the circle of influence. A lot of things will probably be on the border to a certain extent. So some things you might be able to do a little bit about now. So they're in the circle of, that bit is in the circle of influence, but the majority of it might still be in the circle of concern. But some things might be entirely in the circle of influence, and some things might be more in the circle of influence than in the circle of concern. But what Covey's saying is, if we spend time in our circle of concern on things that aren't in the circle of influence, that's where we're just going to be frustrated because we can't do anything about them. So we end up just complaining or blaming other people for why we can't do these things or why these things can't happen. And I'm not saying that then there aren't limitations and they're not challenges, but what Covey's saying is if we accept that, the things that we can't do anything about, if we accept that we can't do anything about them right now, spend time in our circle of influence, then our circle of influence grows. So in terms of getting a promotion, there's always things that we can do. You can look elsewhere in the organisation that you're in, maybe move to somewhere where you feel like you'll get more support, or there might be more opportunities. You could look for opportunities to build credibility and trust with more senior management, like directors and things, people who are going to be in the room where the discussions are happening about promotions. If you build your credibility and trust with them, then there's more likelihood that if your manager if you feel like your manager is holding you back a bit, then getting those people on board and almost sponsoring your promotion would help massively. You could look outside of your organisation as well, and sometimes just having a word with your manager, understanding their feedback, what they're saying they want to see from you in terms of putting yourself in that slot for a promotion opportunity. Sometimes all that it needs, and the theory is if you do that, then in a couple of years' time, you'll be in a good place. You'll have achieved some of these things that you want to achieve. You'll have accomplished these things, and you might have got that promotion, passed that exam, done that training course that you think would help, or brought in that practice that you think would help the team with productivity. You might not have achieved them all, and you might have just progressed some of them, but you'll be in a much better place than you would have been otherwise. So hopefully that's been useful. If you've not come across the circle of concern and the circle of influence before, I would really recommend kind of having a look at it, maybe mapping out where some of the things that you're doing or want to do lie in those two things. If you haven't come across the 7 Habits and the first one, be proactive, then I'd recommend picking up a copy of the book and having a read and seeing how it helps you. So that's everything I was going to go into today. So catch up with me on a future video for other habits from Covey's book, and also we'll do some videos on some other books as well in leadership and management or business books. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and see you on some future videos.